Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Ben Stone. You're watching canalgrass.com, and as we make our way into a new muskie season, I thought it would be fun to discuss 5 of the most common muskie mistakes that I see beginners make. These are little things that are going to make or break your success on the water. And as we make our way into a new year of muskie fishing, I want to pass down as much information that I can to newcomers that are going to help them catch more fish. So without further ado, we're going to dive right into these top 5 muskie mistakes that you should avoid making. First and foremost, one of the most common mistakes and probably the easiest mistake to make is just not having the proper equipment to chase muskies. Of course, muskies are a big, powerful fish. You're throwing these gigantic lures, so having the right equipment is key. I've done a number of videos on the right muskie equipment, which I'll link them in the description below. But arguably, probably one of the most important things that I see people mess up or go in the wrong direction of is the right muskie rod. Having a long muskie rod is so important. When a lot of the muskies that you're gonna catch are gonna be within 5 feet of the boat, having the right rod is so important for that. More importantly, the length of the rod is really gonna dictate how successful you can pull off figure eights. For those that don't know, figure eighting muskies is like one of the most important skills to have as a muskie angler. So having the right rod to do that effectively is no doubt going to allow you to catch more fish. Now, the standard of muskie rods has changed so much throughout the years, but right now I would suggest 9 to 9'6" is the 100% best option for rod length. Longer isn't always going to be the best option. It depends a lot on your height, but between 9 foot and 9'6", that's going to cover a broad range of rod lengths that you want to have. In my case, I love a 9'6" rod. My go-to rod right now has been the Chaos Assault Sticks. They're a very inexpensive rod by muskie standards and arguably probably the best muskie rod on the market for the price. You get a very long handle, which is hard to come by in muskie rods. You get a telescoping blank, which is great for storage, and you have plenty of options for lengths of the rod. In this case, this is a 9'6" swat that does figure eights effortlessly, and it also allows me to cast much greater distances. So I know coming into muskie fishing, gear is expensive, but one thing to keep in mind is purchasing the right muskie rod. It is going to allow you to catch more fish in the long run, and you won't be disappointed by spending more money on a better rod. Mistake number 2 that I see people make, and this is arguably probably the easiest mistake to make when you are muskie fishing, but that is simply not figure eighting every cast. Now, if you're just getting into muskie fishing, you're probably scratching your head saying, why would I figure eight if I don't see a muskie behind my bait? But the truth is, and anybody will tell you this, these fish have a habit of coming out of nowhere when you least expect it. So figure eighting every single cast is going to catch you more fish in the long run. It's going to grant you more opportunities. You're going to see fish that you wouldn't have normally seen. And in that case, it's just going to help you in the long run as a muskie angler. It's very easy to forget to figure eight, but you're going to find that the one time you don't is the one time that you should have. There's going to be a fish there. You're going to have an opportunity. So get into the muscle memory habit of figure eighting every cast. Even a simple L turn is better than nothing, but just get in the habit of doing that figure eight every single cast, because you never know when one of these fish is going to show up on you. Mistake number 3 is something, again, that might not seem like a big deal to somebody who's just getting into it, but if you ask any die-hard muskie angler, they will tell you that keeping your hooks sharp is one of the most important things when it comes to muskie fishing. Muskies have a very bony, rough, hard mouth, so having sharp hooks is going to allow you to get better hookups on these fish. And it doesn't take a lot of effort to keep a hook sharp. It's a very simple process of filing down that hook to get the best, sharpest point out of the hook. And I'm not overdoing it. I'm not trying to grind the point off. I'm really just trying to fine tune that hook. And you'll know you have a sharp hook when it feels very sticky. Invest in hook files. Keep WD-40 on these. Make sure your hook files are in good shape. Make sure your hooks are in good shape. And you will no doubt be hooking up on more muskies. Mistake number 4 is another one that I see all the time when I'm bringing new people out in the boat muskie fishing, and that is making too sharp of turns in the figure eight. Like I've said a million times before, the figure eight is one of the most essential skills to have as a muskie angler. It's one of the easiest things to mess up. and it's one of the toughest things to master, but taking too sharp of turns is probably the worst mistake that you can make in a figure eight. This is even more apparent when using a lure that has blades like a spinnerbait or a bucktail, because when you make a sharp turn, those blades are gonna kill, and that fish's interest in your lure is gonna completely die off most of the time. This goes back to that first thing that I talked about having a long rod. It is going to allow you to do much better figure eights, and it's gonna be a lot easier to do smoother turns. Now, when it comes to actually performing a figure eight, it doesn't always have to be an eight. A big circle or oval is a much easier and more accessible option to do. And really what I want to be doing is extending my reach as far as possible in my turns. An example of the mistake that I see people make though is, say if my lure is coming in and I have a fish behind it and I go into my eight, I see a lot of people and they'll just immediately go back towards the fish, and that's not the maneuver that you want to do. If I have a fish coming in, I want to make that fish's maneuverability into the figure eight as smooth as possible. So I'm really kind of doing this for the fish. I'm extending my forearm, I'm bringing that bait out further, and I'm doing a much wider, smoother turn. I'm not letting my blades kill on this lure. I'm not letting the lure's action kill at all even. I'm just making sure that I do the most gentle turns that I can possibly do. This is even more important when it comes to having a big fish in the figure eight. These big giant fish can't always turn effectively. So just making sure you have smooth, fluid motion in your figure eight on the boat side is very important. It's easy to mess up. It's a big learning curve. Take each opportunity as a learning experience. It's gonna take time, but remember, try not to panic, keep calm, and do big turns in the figure eight. And finally, mistake number 5 that I see people make, and this is something that I've been guilty of too many times, but that is making sure your drag is set properly. You don't want your drag too loose. I would say the tighter, the better. Having your drag locked down is a very smart move, but one thing to keep in mind, if you are going to have your drag fully maxed out, you need to be willing to free spool that fish if you need to. So I always have my drag maxed. That is how I run. That is how I've learned to musky fish. I'm trying to control these fish. I want as much tension on these fish as possible. Of course, if I have a big fish or if I have a fish that really is trying to run, I can always free spool those fish. But there's been too many times, and I've done this on one of the biggest fish I've ever caught, where I didn't have my drag set and I lost that fish. I was lucky enough to actually catch the fish later, which is a whole big story. But my point is, it is the worst feeling to hook a fish and have your drag slip and lose that fish. All the blame goes on yourself. It is not fun. So constantly check your drag. Every time you go musky fishing, check your drag. It doesn't hurt. It's a very simple thing to fix if it's not set correctly, and it can save you from some severe fishing heartbreak. So those are 5 of the most common musky mistakes that I've seen beginners make in my boat. Of course, there are plenty more. If you like this kind of content, let me know if you want to see more. If you have any video suggestions, leave them down below. With all of that out of the way though, I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. I'm wishing each and every one of you the best of luck on your 2022 muskie season. I hope you guys catch your PBs. I hope you guys catch a lot of fish. I just hope that your year is great. I will see you guys next week. Thank you for watching.